What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, and let's get into it. Woo! Now, when we look at everything and we say to ourselves, okay, let's take a look, fall back, see what's happening here. Now, we talked about all these other things that happened. We never really kind of went deep into what happened with Quincy Jones. Everybody said, what happened with Quincy then? Like there's something wrong there. That might need to be explored a little bit. And I said, well, yeah, okay. I think it could be only right that we do that, touch on that subject. So let's do that. So this is Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, the reason why they split and decided to go their separate ways. Michael Jackson, when he was with Quincy Jones, Quincy was the one that really pushed him to more towards independence. They got the CBS deal with the Jacksons, and a lot of people like those Jackson songs more than the old Berry Gordy sound that Berry tried to keep them under that umbrella. Ever since Quincy was working with him for The Wiz and brought Michael Jackson in and saw he was this young, shy kid just really trying to get out and see the world and learn more and more and more. He was a student of the game and like had the obsession. He had that fix, that crave, wanted to be great, wanted to, go out there and take on the world, bright eyed and bushy tailed. And this is somebody who had been in it for years. So when Quincy saw that, he saw another him. He just felt, man, that's another me. Then things started to change. They started working on the Off the Wall album. Michael was going solo, doing his solo project. They do that. Solo project's done. Off the Wall album comes out. Does great for Michael. Establishes himself as a true solo artist. And then the Thriller album comes around, and they're going immediately to work on the Thriller album. So while Michael's working on his Thriller album, his brothers are working on an album called Victory. Jermaine's back in the fold. So he's coming over from Motown. He's coming back to join the family. And it's a lot of things that was going on at that time. He was, things were falling apart over there in Motown, and Jermaine was coming back into the fold. Michael was like finishing the Thriller album. But it was something noticeable going on in the Thriller. And Thriller was going around. When Billie Jean comes out, the single, it erupted. It became one of the biggest songs in the world. So when Billie Jean comes out, everybody's going off about it. The video aired. I never forget where I was when it aired, because they made people wait till like midnight before the song actually came out. When the song was actually released, it was like midnight. Everybody was falling asleep. But once it did, it cracked, and everybody was running from house to house. Did you see Michael Jackson's new video? Did y'all see that? Man, the floor lit up. So the video dropped the same time as the song. Something people hadn't really seen before. So when that was done, it caused pandemonium. Because Michael was coming into the video era, where video was going to be just as big as the song. He was coming up and emerging in the video era. The MTV era was just getting ready to be born. So he's coming in at the right time. And as they're going on to Beat It, they do the Beat It song next. Michael Jackson is finna break all records on. They have never even dreamed that a record could sell this many copies. Now, they do an interview, sit down with like CBS. CBS sets up an interview, and they want to interview Michael. Michael don't do interviews. So they were like, well, Michael's not going to do interviews. He'll give a quote, and that's about it. It's all you're going to get out of Michael. He's not going to sit down and do this interview. So the CBS is mad because he's with CBS Records. This is before Sony bought it out and all this. So CBS is upset. But Quincy will talk all day and all night. Quincy get out there and he was the mouthpiece for Michael. So, and Michael loved that because Michael didn't love to talk. So Quincy will go out there, yeah, man. So we did, oh man, and this album is incredible. Michael's incredible, this whole process. So he was the motoring mouthpiece for Michael Jackson. So they go, Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones and this. But in reality, Michael Jackson did almost all the work. All the producing. Quincy was arranging songs. But his work was so minimal on the actual records that Quincy was getting a lot of praise for his production work, and they bringing up all Quincy stuff, and Michael's looking at all this like, why is Quincy getting all this publicity? They was like, well, Quincy does the interviews. You don't want to do the interviews. So when the Grammys were coming around, and it was like, how many Grammys is Michael going to win? Michael wanted to get a Grammy for producing. Because Michael was like, wait a minute, I produced this album myself, really. But I'm going to give him a liner note for like co-producing with me. But I produced this album, Thriller. So Michael was really lobbying to the Grammys to let them know, hey, I produced this. Like trying to get Quincy Jones' name like off of the Grammys. Now this is what was told to everybody behind the scenes. Like this is what was really like a problem for him, was for Quincy to get this credit and him to be discredited, basically. And once that happened, and the Thriller ride was like, okay, we're coming to the end of Thriller, because there wasn't a Thriller tour. You know, Michael had to go and do Victory for his brothers, which like Pepsi paid all the money for it to happen. You know, when the hair got caught on fire, we all saw that. But Pepsi paid all the money for the tour. Don King negotiated the contract, and there it was. They were out there doing a thing. They had a sponsorship, huge sponsorship from Pepsi. So the brothers had it all together, and he did the tour with his brothers. It wasn't until the Bad tour, which was really his tour. So the Bad tour and the Bad album is where things started to go to explosions. They had the problem for the first album, and he wasn't going to work with Quincy for the next album. But he had a contract with Quincy that said they had so many, like 3 albums or whatever, and they could, you know, that would be the end of the deal. And they can go into restructuring a new deal with Michael. So his original deal, Quincy is basically there for the next album. And Michael don't want to break a winning formula. Plus, they already had songs. So he was like, man, we already got these songs that we've worked on. We need to keep these songs in the bag and, you know, save them for the next project. Because we could use these. These are some songs we didn't use. And he was like, we want more songs. That's what Quincy was like. We need more songs, Michael. More songs mean more money, more hits. So you need to start coming up with ideas and concepts. So he was telling Quincy basically like, okay, well, I'm gonna need your help on this one. Like on this one, you're gonna have to start pulling some weight around here. So Quincy's, oh yeah, 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 we got it, we got it, we got it. So Michael Jackson was working with Bill Bothrow, and these guys were locked in. Like Bill's in there, you know, him and Michael, they doing the work. Quincy's getting the credit. But they doing the work. They at Michael's ranch. Quincy's barely ever there. At the ranch, he was barely there. Quincy showed up when it was studio time, when they recorded in the studio going over some music, and this was over years. A lot of people don't know the Bad album went from 1983 to like 86, 87. It took like 3 years to make the album because they had to keep stopping. Michael was so big of a celebrity, they would have to stop the album from being made because Michael had another major deal to do. They stopped it for the Victory Tour. They stopped it for Captain EO, the mini movie that Michael did with Disney. He signed a contract with Disney. All of these things were going on. So they had to stop production. And then Michael had to come back and guys is in there cramming to get the album done. People like, they need that new Michael Jackson album. So once again, Quincy is being Quincy. He's smoking up a bunch of cigarettes. He's doing a bunch of interviews. And the lead song they're having a problem with. First, the lead song Michael's plan was to have Run DMC on the song and do an anti-drug song. That didn't work. So now that that didn't work out, they decided, let's go into another, you know, let's just go another way with it. Because it wasn't coming out right. So now that they go in another direction, they complete the direction. And the completed direction is the song we hear today. Bill Bothrow and Michael Jackson wrote this song. They came up with the music and the lyrics, everything. Mostly is Bill. Bill wrote this song, period. So the song is finished. Prince is brought in by Quincy Jones and says, I know what this record needs. Because he's not confident with having the lead single be bad. Quincy is nervous that the song is not going to be well received and it's not going to do what they hope and think it should do from a Michael Jackson song being the first song out the gate for to jumpstart the album. He's a little nervous, so that's why he brought Prince in, who he consults with from time to time. So he brings Prince in as a guest to listen to Michael Jackson's recorded work. And the way Prince was in listening to the records, and he's like, oh, we want you to get on this record. So Bill is there, I think his name Bill Brothel. He's a very great writer, well known. Sheryl Crow, many different artists he's worked with, as well as producing, playing guitar. He's the guy that's in there. He's in that engineering booth. He's the guy that's really producing. He put in the work. So he's sitting there going to work, and they playing the song, and he's going through the lyrics, and next thing you know, he's listening to the song, and he's like, "Oh no!" So Prince is there, and he's just listening. Michael at this time wasn't even there yet. Michael wasn't there yet. Prince is already in the studio, and Quincy is going over the song with him before Michael's in. Like when Michael gets there, like, yeah, Prince heard your song. Prince is here, and he's thinking about getting on the record. And Michael was livid. You let him listen to my recorded work? Man, he was really upset about that. He was really livid that they let Prince just come in there and listen to his work, and Quincy's doing this. And Bill was like, "This is not my idea." Quincy brought him in and playing the song and wanted him to get on the record and make like a battle record, and it just went from an anti-drug message song to a battle rap battle song. Like, yeah, I'm thinking like a battle record, like. And he's like, Michael's like, well, we already did that with Beat It. And now, now we're talking about it and from another angle, from the street gangs, trying to fight crime and, don't rob and steal. That's what the bad song's supposed to be about, standing up and I'm going to show you who's bad. And now not a battle record against Prince. Michael was not in for this, and Prince was so arrogant. Bill couldn't stand him, from what they was telling me. They was like Bill Brother couldn't stand him. Prince didn't like him. Prince is just Prince attitude. Prince was like, I don't need any help. Because Bill was like, yeah, I'm thinking like, I'll write this, all right. Prince is not going to let you write no records with him. And he doesn't know you. Like, he doesn't work with you. And not that he didn't like Bill. It's just like, you writing this, and you think those lyrics are going to be said to me? And Bill was looking like, how dare you, like criticize a writer, like, no way. He was like, no, that works for him. Like, that don't work for me, it was just, like, how dare you, like, rude. He was just, arrogant. And that's how the attitude was, with them. And then him and Michael actually sat down and talked. Once Michael got there, and Michael was impressed, got along fine. It was no problem. He talked to Quincy, and he told Quincy, um, "You don't need me for this record. The record's gonna do what you want it to do. You don't need me on it. It's gonna do what it's gonna do. You don't need to change anything. That record is gonna do, what you want it to do. Just it's good to go as is. Don't need me on it." So Prince leaves, but this is definitely a blow to the relationship between him and Michael. So now Michael is moving sessions around. And definitely he was upset when Prince went out and told people that, hey, we almost did a song together. Once Prince made that public that, man, Prince and Michael Jackson was about to work on a song. Now that really pissed Michael off because Michael's whole thing is confidentiality about what he's working on, how he's working on it, what he's doing. It's all a secret. And Prince is shooting his mouth off. So he's blaming Quincy for all of this. All together. So when the album was completed, they did everything, and the album is doing well. They doing the tour. Quincy's taking credit. He was talking about the We Are the World project, and he was gonna come out with another studio album, and it's gonna have Michael on it. It's gonna have Prince on it. It's gonna have Madonna, all the artists on his album that he's coming out with. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come out with my own album. It's gonna be jazz, rhythm, blues, bebop, hip hop." It's gonna have all of it all on one album. We gonna have Michael Jackson, Prince. Michael Jackson's like, I ain't agreed to none of this. They was like, Michael Jackson is gonna be on a. He just heard the question when people asking him like, "Oh, Quincy's coming out with an album and Michael's gonna be on it and he's gonna be a co-producer of the album with Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson." Like, I ain't agree to that. I ain't even talking to that mother. Michael B, no, no, I never agreed. No, I never said that. See, he did it to me again. We did the We Are the World, and I told him my voice is out. I'm tired. I just did the Thriller. I. He's like, Michael, it's for the kids in Africa. So that's why I did it. He signed me up for it. I was so embarrassed. That's why when we worked on We Are the World, I said I'm going to help co-write it. And then I'm done. I don't want to sing all the notes. I'll just sing a little part. It's about all of us coming together. Can I have some water? Some lemon? Little lemon? So, after this was done, Mike got real gangster with it. Mike was around Quincy and everything else. They did they have something they had to go to, some event, and people were there, and all the celebrities, and you seen them pose for pictures. But Michael was done. I mean, done with Quincy Jones. And Quincy kind of knew, but didn't know. Because he's like, oh, well, that's just Michael being Michael. So we going to come around and get things together. And then all of a sudden, Michael gets this huge contract. Huge amount of money. And when that money came through, it was massive. And it was, whoa. Michael kept all of it quiet. It was the biggest record recording contract anybody has ever seen. At that time, probably still is, but he got that recording contract deal. And once he got his deal, it was back to work. And he took took a couple of other writers and producers, the guys who was actually doing the work on the Bad album, brought them on board and said, let's go to work. We had some songs already that we were doing and working on. Let's go to work. So they start working on the Dangerous album. And they have no Quincy Jones. Quincy's out. This pissed Quincy off beyond recognition. He felt betrayed, and Quincy came out with his Back on the Block album. He's got Ice-T, got all these people on it. He got Michael Jackson on there at all. It was not a good moment. They never really talked about it in the press because, one, Quincy was embarrassed. He felt betrayed. He felt like, I did this. I took you to Club 54. I introduced you to all these people on the wall. I was the one doing the interviews and all these things. I was responsible for making Michael Jackson what he is. So Quincy was salty and very bitter at how it ended. Michael was smart because Michael said, look, why am I letting you get all my credit? They ain't gonna say, well, Michael, he can't. Let's see if he can do something without Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones is the one. Quincy this. And this upset him. It bothered him. So naturally, he wants to replace everything. And him and Quincy, they never worked together again. Never. They were done. Michael was through giving his credit to a guy who's not in there grinding it out with them and taking all his credit. And he was the one doing the producing, him and Bill. So that was the extent of the fallout. So when Quincy comes out with that crazy interview that he did that time, it was still out of bitterness. He sued Michael's estate to get like some back royalties. He got his money, about $10 million that he owed from his work when he was there. But to be truthfully honest, a lot of that was Michael. Like 90% of it, Michael was doing a lot of this stuff. So I understand how he felt. And he made a smart business decision. So anyway, I'm out. Don't forget to hit the Cash App up. Donate to your boy's page, Carcino. I'm out. Enjoy your day.